Thank you all for joining our Hangout today on what to expect when completing a college application. I'm Bryna Davis with internationalstudent.com, and I'm here today with special guest William Velez from Chemeketa Community College. William oversees international student admissions and recruitment into Chemeketa's intensive English program and college level programs. And he's also our special guest advisor on internationalstudent.com this month. So we're very excited to have him here with us. But if you do not get a chance to ask your questions during our Hangout today, you can always visit his December guest advisor page on internationalstudent.com. I've also added a couple of links in the showcase, including where you can search for the perfect U.S. college or university, along with a link directly to Chemeketa's page and to William's page. So after this Hangout, please feel free to visit those links, and you can get started on asking questions or finding a school, whatever you like. In the meantime, throughout the Hangout, please feel free to ask any questions you have through the Q&A feature. But today we're going to get your feet wet with what you can expect when completing a college application and how you can stay organized during the whole process. So first of all, it's really key for you to know that each and every college and university will have its very own application, admissions requirements, timeline, and overall process in general. So today we're not going to talk about specific requirements for specific colleges or universities unless you do have a question about the application at Chemeketa Community College, in which case William will answer for you later on. Instead, we're going to give you a good overview of what you can expect and how to stay organized when applying to multiple schools. So first, let's go ahead and cover how many colleges and universities should you actually apply to. Some of you might only have one university that you've been thinking about or researching, while a few of you might have a ton of universities that you'd like to apply for. And while both of these situations are fine, it's important to be realistic as well. So if you have 20 universities that you want to apply for, you're going to send yourself into paperwork overload and more than likely get really confused as to what you need to submit to where, and maybe even not fully submit a few supplemental items that were needed, simply because you're just spreading yourself too thin. Also, on top of the hours upon hours of work that you'll be spending completing each application, you have to also consider that to submit an application, there will be an application fee in most cases, and this can range really anywhere, typically between $25 to $100. So if you have 20 schools that you're applying to that each have a fee, this is going to add up very fast. So keep that in mind also. Now, on the flip side, if you only have one college that you've picked out, that's really great that you're devoted to that school, but I would still suggest having at least one or two backup schools. Having a backup school will ensure that even if you're denied admissions or perhaps your financial aid at that school falls through, you're still going to have a school that you've researched and that you would really enjoy attending if your first choice isn't a possible option. So how many colleges or universities should you apply for? Now, although there's not one set magical number, usually between 3 and 5 is a good number to aim for. And you'll find that applying to even 3 colleges can be very tiring. The process can be lengthy, it can be tiring, and you're also going to have to once again pay that fee. So after you found a few colleges that you would love to attend, what's next? Well, next what you're going to want to do is create a document to keep yourself organized. So throughout the entire application process, you'll be able to keep organized and keep everything in line. Now, if you've watched our Hangout on scholarships, then you should be familiar with this concept, as we used a similar document. And basically what this is going to do is keep all of the application information in one place. So of course, you're not going to be able to remember each application requirement in small detail, but this document can really help with that. So let's take a look at this sample document that we've created. Now, along with Chemeketa Community College, I've randomly chosen 2 other universities inside the US for this sample document. So after you've picked 3 to 5 colleges that you want to attend, it's time to dive into some research before you actually start applying. So list each college on your sheet and then either visit the school's website directly to see what they require or visit internationalstudent.com and complete the information request form on the page of the school you're interested in to get this information. Now, one key item to include on your application checklist is the application deadline. Each college will have varying deadlines, and they're going to change depending on the semester that you're applying for. So when applying, make sure that you give yourself plenty of time to do so before the semester you actually want to attend, as they typically are due many months before the semester that you actually do want to attend. So if you just wake up one day and decide, hey, I think that next week I'll study in the US, I'm really sorry to say that unfortunately it's probably not going to be possible. It takes some time to make it happen. So start early and keep track of deadlines. Having these deadlines written down in your checklist will also allow you to prioritize which application you need to work on first. Now, in the other columns in your document, they're mainly going to be what you will need whenever you sit down to apply. So before you actually start filling in information on the application, I would suggest going through the application to check it out and see what you need. And then notate in your document how much the application fee will be so that you can ensure that when you do apply, you actually have those funds available. Also, is the application online or is it a paper application? If it's a paper application, then you'll need to make sure that you have the ability to print and then fax, mail, or email it in before that deadline. If you're mailing it in, also make sure that you allow extra time for it to be received. Now, in this column, you might also want to include where it needs to be sent to if it is a paper application. When we take a look at a few sample applications, we're going to show you both examples on what to expect from both online applications and a paper application. Next, we have additional items listed. So what information will you need to have on hand other than the basics like your address, the major you want to pursue, and things like that? So once again, these are going to vary greatly from one school to the next. However, here you can see that for my first sample school, it requires you to put a TOEFL or IELTS score to provide a declaration of financial support, a copy of your passport, your transcript, a few other items. Also, keep in mind that the items in this row will need to be specific to the school and your situation. So the next school on your list might have additional items that you need to include in your application, or maybe not as much. And these requirements will also vary depending on the degree level you're pursuing, the country you're from. So really do your research on what you need to submit to apply. That way you're not denied admission simply because you just forgot to submit something or you left something off your application. Now, typically there is an email address or phone number on the application you're completing. So if you're really in doubt about something, contact the school. That's always going to be your best bet. Next on the checklist, include a column so that you know if and when you actually submitted the application. It seems really basic, but when you're doing all this, it can really get confusing and become a mess. And keep a column for additional notes or links to keep in mind as well. Now, of course, this checklist is just a starting point. You're going to want to add more columns and rows as needed, any info that's necessary, and will keep things organized so you can be productive during the application process. You're going to want to include those items. Now, once you've gone through each of the applications once without submitting them, just gathering the information, you should have your handy checklist ready to go. So once you have that ready to go and you see what you need, gather all of those items together. Get those documents ready. And once they're in one place, it's time to apply. So carve out a good chunk of time, make sure that you have reliable internet access, and then sit down and start completing the paperwork. Now, filling out applications, it's going to take some time. So it's not going to be as simple as just sending your college resume into a few colleges and asking for admissions. Be prepared to spend a few hours fully completing these applications. Also, many online applications might time out after a certain amount of time, so save as frequently as possible. And I cannot stress this enough. Each and every college application will be different. But let's take a look at a few examples just to give you a few ideas. So we're going to use the same 3 schools from our checklist. So let's take a look at the first one, University of Central Missouri. Keep in mind that applications can change from one semester to the next and based upon your situation. So double check that you have the most up-to-date one for you. And so let's take a look at this. This application, it's online and it's only about 2 pages. So you can see that it starts out by asking for basic information like name, address, gender, what you plan on studying, and when you plan on attending. Now on that second page there, it gets a little bit more specific, like where you previously studied, your test scores, where you need to submit your academic credentials, and if you have any dependents coming to the US with you, such as spouse or children. So that's our first sample. Now let's take a look at our second sample application. It's going to be a little bit different. This one's broken down into a few more pages, and it even has a few tabs under the different pages. So the layout is different, and they're, like I said, they're all going to be different. They, of course, ask for general information once again, like name and address, and this is going to be really standard on any application. They, of course, have to know who you are. Now take note real quick at the bottom of this page, it says save and continue. As mentioned before, applications take a while. So if you're on a page for a long time, make sure you save it so that it doesn't time out on you and you lose all of your information. Once again, on this one, they ask for your plan of study, such as what is the term you want to start your studies and what do you plan on studying. So before you apply, you need to know when and what you plan on studying. You need that action plan in mind. You would answer these and then, of course, click save and continue. And like on the other sample application we looked at, this one is also, it also asks for international information. So it asks for information like, do you have dependents joining you? Will you require an I-20 if you've already taken the IELTS? So, you know, a quick confirmation of these things, you know, do you have enough money to fund your education year? You're going to have to supply the answer to these. So that's why it's important to gather all of these documents beforehand. That way you're not trying to scramble around in the middle of completing the application. In this sample application for the University of Kentucky, they also include an education section, which has a few tabs. Under each tab, it's exactly what you would expect to see, information on your educational history. And in that first tab, you must list your high school, then the senior courses you took. After that, any other colleges you've attended, what college courses you took, basically just a rundown of your recent education history. And they are going to get specific though. So as you can see, it asks for your rank in your school class, how big your class was, and your GPA. So you'll need to have those items available when completing your application. Other items that you might need to include is a list of your accomplishments. A very fun part, I think, of the application. Many universities want to see what you've done outside the classroom, so you might be given a chance to list any activities that you've been involved in, such as clubs or sports or volunteer activities, as well as any awards that you've received or experience that you've gained. If you're on the fence about adding something simply because, like, well, I'm not really sure if it's relevant or that the university would even care about this, more often than not, it's going to benefit you more by adding it than by not. So for example, say you're really active in fencing and you've won numerous awards, but you don't really think that it applies to studying mathematics at a university that doesn't even have a fencing club. You should most definitely add something like that. It shows that you not only have dedication, but that you're able to balance time between being a fencing superstar and still getting top grades. And you know what? If your school does not have a fencing club, the one that you're trying to get into, this will more than likely pique their interest in you. So if you get accepted and you start a fencing club on their campus, you've just become a very valuable asset to the school. So you've added variety to their campus, and this is something that they'd really like to see. Now, lastly, on this sample application, they ask for an essay, which is common. As you can see, they give you how long it should be, what it should be about, which is typical. If they do give you the option to choose to write about a topic of your choice, I highly recommend doing so. This will allow you to pick a topic that you're passionate about and that you can really show who you are through. Plus, you know, you're going to be very knowledgeable on the topic. Now, we have an entire hangout on writing your application admission essay. Make sure you watch that before you get started writing your essay. That, once again, links in the showcase to our hangouts. So these are just a few items that you can expect to run into when completing an application. We have one more sample school for you, of course. It's going to be Chemeketa Community College. We're going to take a quick peek at their application. So I'm going to hand it on over to William, who will walk you through that and give you a few other items on what to expect when completing a college application.
Thank you, Brianna. So as you look at our application, there's something to consider, and it's the fact that many schools will have different requirements. We have different start dates. And as Brianna pointed out earlier, you want to make sure that you're looking at when our deadlines are. So for Chemeketa, we've given on our application packet an actual setup of all of our dates for you throughout the year. So it's broken down by quarters because Chemeketa as a community college offers intakes 4 times during the year. And actually this year we will be offering a 5th session during the summer as well, which I will explain in a second. So if you look at the very beginning, whenever you receive our application, which is actually hosted online on our website. Also, it's a PDF, fillable PDF that you can access via email if you let us know that you're interested, or if you go to our website and download it. On the very first page, you will see a list of our requirements. So it will be very easy for you to know exactly what documents you need to submit to us. We have asked the students to normally complete an application to our school, again, that fillable PDF package, and then submit to us a copy of your passport and a copy of a bank statement that demonstrates that you have the means to cover 1 year of your education. This is normally, for community college, very typical. We don't have an essay requirement. We do not have a requirement for an SAT or a TOEFL or an IELTS or any additional standardized tests, because for the most part, most of our students will come to our institutions and apply for what we call a placement test. And when you arrive, you do placement tests, especially in the state of Oregon, that will help us to understand a little bit about where you're at and what your abilities are. And so it will be very common for a lot of the community colleges to do something similar to this. Chemeketa specifically will require you to submit all of your documents as I have listed them. If you're a transfer student, then we ask you for additional documents. We ask you, for example, for a copy of your transcripts that show the grades that you've completed. But for a school like Chemeketa, we are more interested in knowing if you've transferred from a school in the United States. If you have transferred from a school out abroad from your country specifically, then it's not quite as critical for us to see exactly what grades you're having in those classes, although it will be helpful for us to know so that we can help you with your advising for your career. Normally, we also will ask you for copies of those other I-20s for the schools that you've attended, if those schools are in the United States. And then if you notice at the bottom of that first page, then we list for you deadlines of when we recommend that you apply to the school, what's the latest date that you should be submitting your application. If you're in the United States already because you've already been attending another school, we give you deadlines for in the country because it makes it easier for you, since you do not have to apply for new visas and you don't have to worry about leaving the country and coming back into the country to gain new access. Then we recommend you, we also give you a recommended date for our visa applications to the U.S. Embassy, as well as our arrival. So for all of our students, we offer free pickup when you arrive into the United States, into the airport here in Portland. And so we want to give you the dates that are available for you to arrive. And then we have mandatory orientation for all of our students. We do put this in the application because for us it's very important that you know from the very beginning that if you're committing to applying for this particular term, that you will be arriving for our orientation dates. And if those are not possible dates for you, then you may want to consider applying for the following term. Again, because we're in the quarter system, it makes it a lot easier for you to be able to choose the right term that would fit your timeline. We also have on the second page our summer dates, and our summer programs are more of an intensive English program along with culture, language, and culture. And so this would be a good fit for students who are interested in very short-term, 1-month experience, or perhaps joining the 2 summer sessions for 2 months experiences in intensive English and culture in the United States. And so this gives you all the details that you need in order to determine when you want to be sending your application to us, gives you the ideas of how long you have to wait in order to be arriving to our school. And so every school will have different deadlines, different dates that you may want to be paying attention to. Chemeketa's will be listed in here. Then we give you some information in regards to how do we notify you about your acceptance to our school, and what documents we've received from you, and how we communicate whether we've received those or not, so that you know what to expect from us at all times. At Chemeketa, normally when you submit your application, you will be hearing from me within a week at the latest. Normally, you will have 48 hours, you will hear some sort of notification from me in regards to having received your application and or whether we are missing any additional documents. Often, by those 48 hours, you may also hear from me in regards to our admissions decision. Not every school will have a similar timeline, though. If you go to the following 2 pages, you will see a list of all of our programs. And those programs will give you ideas of all the different areas of study that you could choose from. And this will be important for you as we go into the actual fillable information, because you will want to be notifying us of exactly what program you would like to follow, which program you would like to study. And the reason why we give you this list is because we expect to know that you've looked into our list of programs and you have chosen the program that fits right for what you are wanting to study, and that you use the same terminology, because we will be putting this information on your I-20, we will be putting this information in your acceptance letter. And so we give you a quick reference in here of all of the programs that Chemeketa offers so that you can have an easy time at choosing the right program when it comes to filling out your actual information. Then we go straight into the application itself. So these first 4 pages were just a reference for you in regards to information that you should know, and then in regards to the programs of study of the institution, and then we go into actually filling the document. So if you look on the next area, we're asking you to let us know then and identify for us which term you're like to start. So again, looking at the first page, you will see the list of the dates and the start terms, and then you can let us know here exactly when it is that you want your application to be processed, for what term and for what year. Then you give us some of your biographical information. You will let us know your name, where you live, whether you've already been in the United States before or not, if you're a citizen of a particular country, even though you may have been born in another location, and you give us some of those details. If you have an advisor or someone that's helping you in the United States, it's helpful to put their information. So we've provided a space for you to give us that detail, because if there's questions, if there is someone that can help you through the process and we are unable to reach you for whatever reason, then we have someone else that we can contact that can be of assistance to you. But this is optional. This is not a requirement to be considered for admissions. Then we ask you for where would you like us to send those documents? Where should we be sending that I-20 and that application acceptance letter? And so if the address is the same, you can indicate so. If not, then you can give us the specific details for where we would be sending the documents to you. And then we ask you a little bit more of that similar information that other institutions ask in regards to your education. So what it is that you're wanting to study with us, whether you've already attended a different school. If you're in the United States and you're transferring schools, then we ask you for the information of that particular school that you've been currently attending. For most of you, maybe this may not apply. So normally, whenever something doesn't apply to your particular case, then you can leave it empty. Then we normally ask you for clarifications if we have things that we needed to get from you. And then we help you through that process of making sure that we have the right information. So some schools will completely deny your application if you don't have everything completed. At Chemeketa, because we have so many students with different experiences and different backgrounds and different educational levels, we normally will ask you for just the information that fits to you. If I need some additional clarifications, normally I will reach out to you and let you know about that as well. Then if you look on the second page, we give you some details about our expectations for you, our understanding of the immigration rules that you're saying, yes, I'm going to come to study at the school, and these rules will apply to me, and I understand and I agree with those rules, and I agree to live by those rules. And then it also gives you some information about our health insurance requirements, and gives you all the details and all the breakdown on the coverage for this information. It is important for us that you understand that when you arrive, we will have some expectations for you, and so we give you some information ahead of time so that you know what we're expecting, and then you, by signing this page at the very bottom, that's the only thing you do on that page, is read all of the information and agree to us that yes, this makes sense to me, I do choose to live by this, it makes total sense, I know what to expect. And then if you go to the next 2 pages, this is where perhaps some of the students get a little confused. If you, for example, used applications before, like the common application, there is areas where we ask you for financial information. at Chemeketa, we will have something very similar where we're asking you for whether there is someone else coming with you to the United States on your I-20, if you're applying with your family to come with you, if you're applying by yourself. So you get to give us some of that information. And then we ask you for who's making themselves responsible for paying for your education. Is it yourself? Is it a sponsor? Is it a family member? Perhaps you have a friend. And we need to know exactly who it is that's giving you their sponsorship. If it's coming from yourself, you can indicate self, and you can give us the information of how much money you're planning to put towards your education. The U.S. Immigration Offices requires us to verify that you have at least that needs to cover at least 1 year of your education. So in here, we've given you the breakdown of what we expect a year will cost you at Chemeketa. And that will be true for both our college level programs as well as our intensive English programs. So it gives you an opportunity to know right away exactly what to expect. These are estimated costs, but our tuition will be pretty accurate for you. But it includes our cost of living estimates, housing, food, transportation, and it will also include for you the cost of the insurance for 1 year. And so you will see that our bottom line will be $19,200 for 1 year of study at Chemeketa. It doesn't mean that you pay all of that amount to us, but we do need to know from you exactly where that amount is coming from, who's making themselves responsible. Normally, from the immigration side, we recommend you that you don't have more than 2 people sponsoring your education, because often what will happen is that the immigration offices will be a little bit concerned about the fact that you may have more than 2 people that are saying that they're going to sponsor your education, and then what if one of those people disappears? So it's important that in here we give you very limited space for that same reason as well, because we expect for you to have either 1 or 2 people that are sponsoring your education at the most. But if you have a scholarship, if you're sponsored by a government, for example, you can give us those details in here as well, and that will be helpful to you. On page 4, then if you have a sponsor or a government agency that's paying for your education, then you normally will need to provide this page to them so that they can complete this fairly quickly. You can either email it to them. It's very simple to pass it along and have them sign it and then send it to us. And that way you will have a completed application that will give us all the information that we need, both from you, and then if it's a sponsor, then it lets us know that the sponsor is aware that you're applying with their name, with their information, and confirming to us that they're interested in sponsoring your education as well. So normally, the next couple of pages will be available for students who may be interested in transferring but that are already in the United States. And those pages we provide on all of our application pages, but again, like I said earlier, if it doesn't pertain to you, then it's okay for you to leave it blank. So this is just information for students who are interested in transferring from within the United States, and it's a document that's given to their advisor at their school, and they provide this documentation to us. Then the advisor at that school will fill this out, send it to us, and let us know the status of that student's education at their school. And then at that point, we will know also from them when they may give us the information that we need in order to create a new I-20 for that student. However, page 6 may be interesting to those of you who may actually already have done some education, some college or university in your own countries, because it'll give you the steps that we normally take in order to transfer those credits from your country into the United States. So if you are interested in bringing credits with you, then this last page will give you some of the details of what you need to prepare, what you would want to start looking at before you apply to the school in order to transfer those credits over to the United States, to our institution. This process will be very similar to other institutions as well, but we will require you to get evaluations of credits and then apply specifically to the institution to have those credits be considered. This completes our application itself. And my biggest advice that I would give to you before I turn it back to Brianna is that normally I like to tell my students to consider a list of 3 to 5 schools that will give them kind of a variety of what they would like to consider, what they would like to, where they would like to study. So it helps you to narrow down your options, keep your options open still, but give you opportunities to have perhaps your top 1 to 3 schools get a chance to accept you or get a chance to consider your application as well. And I will turn it back to Brianna.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much, William. That's some really great insight there. And once again, please send in any questions that you do have. Send those in through the Q&A feature right now through the Hangout, and we will go ahead and answer those questions for you. If you have any questions about completing a college application, in general, or if you have specific questions about Chemeketa Community College, please feel free to send those in. Now's your time. We can answer those live for you. Also, in our showcase, we do have a link directly to Chemeketa that you can visit, along with our other Hangouts that we've had in the past that will help you with your college application, such as the application essay tips. So please make sure that you visit those links or send in your questions. We do have one question that came in through our other social media platform. So William, we had one question. They asked, if they do want to attend Chemeketa, what's the earliest that they'd be able to attend, and when do they need to apply by?
Sure. So our next available term is the spring term, and the latest that they could apply by is February 1st. So we are now wrapping up our winter term, which will begin January 4th, and we just finished orientation yesterday. So our next available term, you can start applying already during the holidays, during this time until February 1st. We will actually be considering applications for spring term. So you are able to submit your application at any time. If you go to our website, if you visit chemeketa.edu/apply, you will be able to actually get your application and start completing it, and then send it to us via email, and you will be able to be considered for admissions.
All right, perfect. And we had a few other questions come in. The first one we have, it says, how are they able to contact you, William?
So I'm pretty easy to reach at. So our email address is internationaladmissions@chemeketa.edu. I check that email on a regular basis, so you will be able to email me there directly, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. If you're, for example, during the month of December, you can also use the feature on internationalstudents.com that has the profile in December if you want to ask general questions as well, and I'll be happy to answer those for you. But you can contact me directly at internationaladmissions@chemeketa.edu.
All right, excellent. We have another question that has come in. Once again, if anyone else has questions, now's the time to send those in. We're able to answer those live for you. I know there is a bit of a delay, so make sure you send them in as soon as possible. That way we don't end the Hangout before we're able to get to your question. All right, and the next one that we have here is, hi, what are the chances to study in the U.S.? I have 2 brothers living there. They are not citizens of the United States. I heard that it's not possible to get into America if there are any relatives there. So does that mean that that's a stop sign on my dream?
So that's a great question, actually. So often there's a lot of questions that people have in regards to the immigration rules and some of those details, and whether it's worthwhile applying to a school because you hear rumors of other people that have been denied a visa for XYZ reason. There is no such rule for the immigration that says that if you have relatives in the United States, whether they're here as U.S. citizens or permanent residents or on a visa or in any other kind of way, there's no rules that impede you from applying. Actually, in some cases, it's been beneficial to have had family members that are here because they will be a support or a connection to you that will be able to help you once you transition into coming to the United States. The biggest concern that an immigration officer has is whether you have strong ties to your country that helps them understand that, yes, you're not planning to come to the United States and then stay here and disappear here, but that you're actually coming for the reason that you're saying that you're applying to a visa. In other words, if you're applying to come to study, that you're actually legitimately interested in coming to study here, and that you have the means to support yourself for a year of your education at least. if they have ways to verify that you do have means to cover your education, that you have strong ties to your country, and that you're legitimately interested in following or pursuing that career, then there shouldn't be a reason for why they would deny your visa.
All right, excellent. And it looks like those are all of the questions that we have for today. Once again, if you did not get to send in your question live, don't worry. Like I said, William is our special guest advisor throughout the month of December. So you can visit internationalstudent.com and you can go to the guest advisor page and you can ask away. Also, there is information on internationalstudent.com under the school search on Chemeketa Community College. So if you would like more information, then you can always go there and get more details. But thank you so much for attending our Hangout today. Hopefully you're going to be just a little bit more prepared whenever it comes time to complete your college applications to study inside the U.S. Thank you, and thank you, William.
Thank you very much, and I hope you guys have a great experience applying and finding the right schools that will be a good fit for you.